many people have been affected by this. That's number one thing that you think about. But I think the one saving grace is that it's a short week. It's not like a game that's scheduled to play on a Sunday. This is a short week, so it's not going to affect really either team because everything you're not really practicing on a short week. We don't know how many people could possibly miss a game, but because of the fact that it's a short week, both teams are having to deal with it. The game is going to go on as is. So I'm just curious to see who's been affected by these positive COVID tests.
Yeah, that's always the question. Once you hear a team has an unidentified player or unidentified players, then it's like, okay, well, who are they? Who have they been in contact with? You saw that with the Ravens this week. The contact guys, and how many of them will be affected as well. I don't want to be alarmist or anything like that, because you think about the amount of guys who have tested negative and have been allowed to play. But what we're seeing in recent days and recent weeks, it seems like there's more cases of positive tests. And on one level, it feels alarming because you're thinking, oh, okay, it's the Packers. Okay, now this is the 49ers, the Ravens, the Titans. And at the end of the day, you're like, is everybody going to be affected by this? I think the NFL has done a good job to this point, the best job it can do. And they've been really strict, hammering home that message this week in particular about how guys have to stay away from each other, especially on the sidelines. They have to wear masks. So hopefully, it won't be a lot of guys affected at the 49ers, and the game will go on. But you just wonder how many more positives we're going to see.
It's gotten to the point that no one should be surprised that anybody or any team tests positive in the NFL. I mean, Trevor Lawrence of Clemson did everything right, the quarterback of Clemson, and he contracted COVID-19. So when you have close quarters and people in close quarters, it's bound to happen, especially when we have not been able to get a handle on COVID-19. This keeps winning from that standpoint. So until there's a vaccine that everybody can take and are willing to take, we're going to have these positive tests that are going to happen to each and every football team in the NFL. And Kimberly, to your point, the NFL's done a terrific job. When you think about, many people wonder, okay, when COVID-19 hits a team, is it going to shut down the season? It's going to shut down a week. They've been able to pitch and patch and mix and match and move things around, but it has not stopped their season, and at times it has not stopped the week, whatever that happens in the National Football League. So you take this as a positive that, okay, maybe it's only one person won't affect the game tomorrow night. If they have to move the game to Monday, then they're probably going to do something like that if they have to. But the fact that this has happened constantly in the National Football League, but yet it has not slowed down the season, I don't know if that means that we don't care as much and they're just going to put players out there and let them just play in no matter what. But whatever that is, the NFL sent this message early, Kimberly and Damien. No matter what happens, we're going to be here for you. The NBA got interrupted. Major League Baseball got delayed. The NHL to play in the bubble. College football's being affected. But we're going to be here for you because we're going to make sure we have the best testing for our league and everybody involved in it. And I hate to use so far so good, but that has been the case with the NFL, that COVID-19 has not come close to shutting this league down or shutting down a week of football.
Well, Freddie, so far so good. We'll take it at this point. There aren't that many options, and I think given the tight turnaround, the 49ers shutting down their facility today, they're expected to play tomorrow. We're really just going to have to see what happens. Be sure to tune into ESPN Sports Center throughout the day. They'll have much more information as the story develops, and they'll have more in regarding to the status of tomorrow's game. All right, guys, we are going to move on to a little segment we like to call Take Your Pick. Kimberly, I want to start with you here. We know the Bears, they're visiting the Titans on Sunday. Who do you think should be the starting quarterback for Chicago moving forward?
It's got to be Nick Foles. And here's why. I know what Nick Foles is. I know I'm going to get good and bad. I know that this is a guy that he's a veteran guy. When he's on the field, he may not wow you with some plays, but there are moments where he does. And that to me is much better than the unknown of Mitch Trubisky. The fact that the team decided, the coaches decided to sit Mitch Trubisky at the start of the season, when they see him every day for Nick Foles, that tells me all I need to. I think the Mitch Trubisky situation has reached its end. They had a chance to pick up the option, did it. I think the Bears have shown us how they feel about Mitch and whether he's the long-term answer. I don't want to go backwards. Just get me to the end of the season with Nick Foles and see where we're at.
That sounds all fine and good.
Don't do it.
Listen, that sounds all fine and good. But let me tell you something. over the last 5 games that Nick Foles has started, they've only averaged 16 points per game. So it's not like Nick Foles has come in and been some type of
But it would be more
game
with Mitch,
changer
though.
for the Chicago. Well, he listen. I think both quarterbacks stink, to be quite honest with you. I think,
Yep.
but what I do think with
I think a
Mitchell
lot of people
Trubisky,
agree with you.
yeah, I think with Mitchell Trubisky, I think the one element that he does bring is his mobility, his ability to use his legs to maybe find players down the field, and that's something that Nick Foles hasn't been able to do. So, listen, if you're the Chicago Bears, your defense is playing well. You're going to need your offense to come alive. If you expect to try to make some hay when you get to the point in the postseason, you're going to need somebody to make a play or do something, from a physical standpoint that can maybe give you a play or two. That to me would probably come from Mitchell Trubisky. And like I said, they both quarterbacks are they're terrible. They're terrible. But right now, I would probably give a slight
One of
edge
them has a
to
Super
going
Bowl,
back
though. One of
going
them
back to
has a
Mitchell
Super
Trubisky.
Bowl.
This is what
Yes,
happened.
one of them.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right about that, Kimberly. One of them does have a Super Bowl, but my gosh, he's not showing much of anything with Chicago right now.
Here's the deal with Nick Foles. This is what happens when you let him hang around. He'll take your championship, your Tom Brady. He'll take your car and drive it around the country and not bring it back with any gas in the tank. You cannot let Nick Foles hang around your situation because he's going to make the best of it. And that's exactly what happened here. The Chicago Bears put Mitchell Trubisky on notice and said, we want you to have this job, but you got to take it. And he wasn't able to. Even though they're 3-0 in the first 3 games he started, it didn't feel as if they were going to get any better, go anywhere. And I know they've been 2-3 under the starts of Nick Foles, but they just believe in him more. And I'm not talking about the Chicago Bears coaching staff. I'm talking about the players. It seems like they want to play for him because they trust him more. They don't trust Mitchell Trubisky, and that was proven last year after he kept regressing and regressing and regressing. And you saw a lot of guys just had the folded arms routine and the rolling their eyes routine. You haven't heard one player anonymously on the record saying, man, they need to go back to Mitchell Trubisky. They're like, look, I'd rather lose with this guy and take out chances than have that guy get back into the lineup. And to Kimberly's point, you can't go backwards once you put Nick Foles in your lineup, because if you go backwards, then what kind of message is that you're sending to your team? That, to Damien's point, we know both of these guys aren't any good, but we're going to take the lesser 2 evils in this situation when it comes to Nick Foles. They trust him more, even though his record as a starting quarterback is 2-3 and Mitchell Trubisky was 3-0. It tells me all I need to know that they're not going to go backwards. They're going to stay with Nick Foles unless he completely regresses, and then they have no choice.
All right, Freddie, well, what do you say we talk about some good quarterbacks? What rookie quarterback do you see making the biggest headlines in the second half of the season?
It's going to be Tua Tagovailoa of Miami, because I thought about when Brian Flores, who, by the way, that guy can coach his behind off. You can say whatever you want, but that guy in a year and a half, that brother gets it in. Brian Flores, he's just terrific. Gets his players to play hard for him. They can dial up plays, getting ready for the start of the game, and then make great adjustments in the game. But he told everybody what he felt about Tua Tagovailoa by putting him in, even though Ryan Fitzpatrick was playing pretty well for Miami. He was not willing to have Fitz Tragic show up when Fitz Magic ran out for Miami. He said, I'd rather put a guy, Tua Tagovailoa, that guys will continue to rally around. And you saw that. The special teams, they scored a touchdown. The defense, they scored a touchdown. Tua Tagovailoa did not make big mistakes. When he had to make a throw or two, he was able to do that. When you have a guy celebrated like that, like he was at Alabama, then he steps in with a football team in a division that's there to be taken. In the AFC East, with the Patriots no longer being the kings of that division and Buffalo not that far away from Miami, as he continues to get better and better and better, we know the name Tua Tagovailoa. He's that rookie quarterback, in my opinion, that's going to make the biggest headlines in the second half of the season. That Miami team is going to be hell to deal with for anybody that plays them the final 8 games of the NFL season.
But yeah, look, I think the supporting cast around Tua Tagovailoa is legit, but I'm going to go with Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow, to me, he has drawn a lot of eyeballs to the Cincinnati Bengals. When the last time anyone gave a damn about the Cincinnati Bengals? He's brought a new energy, a new life, and it just seems like, listen, it seems like every week he's getting better and better and better. And we saw what he did last week when the Cincinnati Bengals went out there and beat the Tennessee Titans in Cincinnati. This is a guy that's been getting pummeled, but somehow, some way, he still finds ways to go out there and make plays. And I think Joe Burrow is one of the elite quarterbacks already in his rookie year in the National Football League. They surround him with more talent. boy, that's going to be a destination for a lot of guys that want to play with a quarterback like Joe Burrow.
They get him a line, and it's good. Joe Burrow is the guy.